At one time, Water Street extended downriver. To the iron foundry, which was almost opposite Deep Hole, not Deep Hole, Sand Hole, which was where Bear Creek came into the Youghiogheny. It was deeper. The water was deeper there. And so it was a swimming hole. And Elijah Monroe friend, Captain Elijah, his farm was on Water Street Extended. It went past the livery stable, which is where Wilderness Voyagers are now. And there were other houses on Elijah Monroe's farm. Julia Sines began her marriage in one of the small houses over there. Jim and Mandy Schroyer lived in one of those little houses. Well, and of course Earl Friend, who was he did painting for people and wallpaper. He would come and wallpaper at our house. Very, very soft-spoken and sweet man. And my dad called him Cousin Earl. He called a lot of people cousin Jim, cousin whatever. And I thought that cousin was just a way of saying buddy or friend or whatever. But then when I started doing genealogy, I found out they really were his cousins. And I was related to almost everybody. So Elijah Monroe became a captain in the Union Army during the Civil War. Friendsville was entirely Union except for two people. One was Henry Garlitz, who had married John Simpson's friend's daughter, Lavinia. And Lavinia's brother, Isaac. They were Southern sympathizers and I guess went off to be part of the Confederacy. When they came back, Henry and Lavinia were considered outsiders, and Isaac settled in Preston County, West Virginia. But Captain Elijah, he was my father's uncle. And when he died, my father took me, I don't know if I was even 3 years old. And my mother didn't like the idea of his taking me to the funeral home. But he said that it was important for me to remember Elijah Monroe Friend. And so he took me and picked me up so that I could view the dead Captain Elijah Monroe Friend. And this was in the first floor of the Opera House. When Captain Elijah died, Earl, his son, and his wife, Ollie Gibbs, friend, lived there. And when they died, Charlie Barr and his wife, Helen, was Friend, Russell Friend's daughter, moved in with their son, Ely. And Elibar was a couple of years younger than me, but I really admired him because he was adventurous. When the river was almost frozen, Ely would be out there skating. Nobody else had the courage because the water was pretty swift under. And I'm sure Ely went through many times. But the skates that he used, this is kind of interesting. Earl Friend said that they were Gabriel Friend's skates because Gabriel Friend, son of old John, used to skate up the river to San Run to visit his brother there, John Jr. And Earl said that those skates were hanging in a shed over at Captain Elijah Monroe's farm. And so anyway, when his drinking problems caused a split in the marriage, the farm was sold again, and this time to a Pentecostal church, and church services were there. And I used to sit on the roof over our kitchen on the other side of the river and listen to the people. And one time, a couple of my friends and I decided to go over and peek through the windows to see what was happening during these services. And I climbed a tree so that I could see in. And one of the branches broke and fell. And I let out a yelp because it scared me. And of course the preacher came running out to see, and we were kind of embarrassed, but he invited us in. Then we were scared to go into the service, and he started preaching to us and trying to get us to come up front and be converted, be saved. And it really scared the bejabbers out of us enough that we never bothered them again. Let them do what they do. Anyway, and then Blaine France bought that property to add to his field that he already owned part of. And he tore every one of the buildings there down in order to have more land to plant. My parents, during the Depression, when the stock market fell, already had a family of one son and 3 daughters. And their youngest daughter was 11. And then I came. And I always thought, later, well, you would think that they would have kind of resented another mouth to feed during the Depression and all. But I felt nothing but love when I was growing up from my parents and my sisters and brother. I think that's kind of great. I didn't know that we were poor. I had nothing to compare it to. And everybody else was at least as poor, and some more poor than we were. Mom said she patched Pop's patches that people made do. They had gardens. They had chickens. Some people in town had cows. They hunted and fished. And in 1935 was when Prohibition ended. And my father, who had been eking out a living with a little store and restaurant, began to sell beer. And that brought our income up considerably. He was also a barber, and he had started out as a barber. And I don't think he went to barber school. I think he just became a barber. And so a lot of people who didn't have cash, because cash was the thing that was so scarce, would bring commodities or surplus food that were delivered to Friendsville to Mom, and she would give them money for it so that they could buy what they wanted, which was kind of sad because what they wanted was white flour and sugar. And what commodities were given were things like whole grain cereal that you cooked, and grapefruit, and prunes, and molasses, healthy things. So I ended up growing up liking healthy things because other people wanted not healthy things. Too bad. The bridge in Friendsville, the one that we have now, was finished in 1932. And I remember my father picking me up in our kitchen, and so that I could see the steam shovels out in the river that were digging for the piers that are there now. I must have been, I was born in 1930, so I must have been a little under 2 years old, but I can remember that.